All right, what's up, everybody? I'm Jordan Weber, and today we're going to go over some foam rolling and self-myofascial release techniques. You can use the wall. We're going to get started with the wall, then we're going to go to a bench, and then we're going to move to the floor. So we're going to go from the easiest options, which are standing. The second easiest options would be sitting on a bench, and the third easiest option, or the hardest option, would be on the ground. So I have a lacrosse ball. This is called an orb ball. And then I have also a short, high density foam roller. Okay, so those are the three tools I'll be working with today. I'm going to start with the lacrosse ball, and make sure that your lacrosse ball is a little grippy. Sometimes it can be very slippery or kind of silky feeling. So make sure that your lacrosse ball is, it has a little grip to it. Otherwise, you're going to be slipping all over the place. First thing I'm going to do is get the side of my deltoid. Okay, your deltoid, it's got three parts to it: posterior, side, and front. I'm going to get that side deltoid. I'm going to put the ball in between the wall and my shoulder, and then I'm going to go up and down and side to side into that ball. Okay, I can make a circle here. I can go up and down. I can go side to side, and just looking for tender spots, going to about 50-60% of a tension spot. We don't want to go like too high into like 80-90% to where it hurts. And then from here, you can get the posterior side of the back, or the rhomboids inside the scapula. So where you would pinch your shoulder blades together, right by that point, right next to the vertebrae, I have to go on one side. So right now I'm on my right side. And what I'm doing is I'm kind of rounding or protracting my scapula as I do that to help that rhomboid go out a little bit. Okay, so again, up and down, side to side. Once I find a spot, like right now, I'm on more of my teres major muscle here, which connects my shoulder into my back. What we're going to do here is, I can get on that top lat or teres major. It's right kind of next to the shoulder blade. Once I find that area, or really any tender area that you can, move your shoulder into external and internal rotation as you're pressing into an area. Okay, whether you're getting your high lat where the tendons connect into the muscles, or whether you're getting a smaller muscle like your teres major, which, don't worry about trying to find these specific muscles. Just try not to push into bone as much as trying to find muscles in the upper shoulder region. Okay, so once you find the region, you can internally and externally rotate the shoulder through that range of motion. Okay, and so that would be an example of my right side. If I were to get my left side, again, I'd have to protract my shoulder or kind of round my upper back, get this elbow forward to allow that shoulder blade to open up so I can get into that area. Okay, and then repeat on the opposite side. Okay, for the front of the shoulder, you can just face the wall. Same thing, side to side, up and down. It's a smaller area, so you don't have to spend that much time there. As far as the glutes, you can also put the ball there in between the wall and your hip and just kind of go in a circular fashion there, or just press into the side upper glute area here, or in the back. Okay, right in the glute max or in the glute med. So right on the side or on the posterior side of the hip. Okay, obviously you want to get it the other side. The orb ball does the same thing. It's a little bit more blunt. It's probably easier to maneuver, but you're not going to get that pinpoint accuracy like a lacrosse ball. So this would be good for like a beginner. And then this would be good for maybe somebody that's older and new to foam rolling, something like this. Okay, this might be a little bit softer and better for people. Okay. You also get your arms as well. So those would be some ways self-myofascial release or kind of push into those upper body areas in the posterior side of the body, as well as the hip area. Now we're going to move down to the bench. All right. So let's go ahead and get into the bench. So now with the bench, I like to use the bench for my hamstrings. So taking not the lacrosse ball this time, but the orb ball underneath my hamstring, and then allowing my knee to bend so that my orb ball is in between the bench and my hamstring. And then from here, going external and internal rotation of my hip. So pushing the muscles on that, and then crossing over, so getting the outside of the hamstring and then the inside of the hamstring by way of just crossing over my leg. So putting it right underneath the thigh, relaxing this hamstring, relaxing the knee, just allowing it to push into the muscle, find a new spot, put the foot on the other side of the bench so that you can target different aspects of the hamstring. You can go really high. You can go with the legs straight over the bench as well. Okay, and then also work your calves here too. Okay, going side to side, just like that, up and down, or just holding here, flexing your toe toward the sky, and then pointing your toe forward, or creating a circle with the ankle while you are pressing into each part of that calf muscle. Okay, so those would be some ways to release or to foam roll using a bench. Now, if we're going to make our way to the floor, that's where the foam roller is going to be more handy, and we may even get a softer foam roller for different parts of the body. Okay, so starting with the lowest part of our body, our calves or ankles, we first want to just go right on the Achilles or right above the heel, and just go side to side, up and down, a little bit higher, targeting the soleus and gastroc, a little bit higher, more gastroc here, still soleus, and then switching side. You can also push the opposite foot into the ground, lift the hips off the ground to put a little bit more weight into the roller. Okay, if that's too hard, transfer to a softer roller. If that's too soft, transfer to a harder roller. For the hips, you sit on the roller, cross one leg over, lean into that hip on an angle so that when we roll, you should feel that in the glute and in those hip rotator muscles on the upper side of that hip. Okay, same thing, opposite side. Finding, maybe a tender area and holding there. If you don't feel anything, maybe trying to straighten out the knee. Sometimes that could help. Okay, so that would be the hip rotators. Now for the lower back, you might want to start with a softer one before a hard one, because this can crack the ribs if you're vulnerable to that, or it could damage the spine if you've never done this before. So softer would be better. And you may just lean to one side of the lower back, press into it for about 15-30 seconds, and then go to the other side. More advanced would be to lay on your back and put one foot underneath and just allow that roller to sink into that side of the lower back, and then switch side just like this, as long as there's no pain. And then we move up to the upper back, which I would probably prefer the harder roller. And when I go into the upper back, I bring my elbows together and I kind of round my upper back, and I flex and extend my upper back here. I bring my arms over my head, roll up and down, and then I go side to side. Okay, I can do some shoulder presses overhead while I'm here, and that would be my upper back. All right. Now I'm gonna go for my adductors, which you can do with the bench. I might show you that after, but we want to lay parallel or alongside of the roller. And then we're gonna raise that knee as far as we can up, straighten the leg, and then from here, I'm pressing right next to my knee to start. And then just relaxing and breathing into this position. And I'm gonna go mid-thigh. I may roll side to side. And then I go as close as I can to my hip area. Leave that leg off the ground, point the toe down, and again, roll into that or just hold that area. So that would be the adductors. Okay, same thing, opposite side. Lay alongside, abduct the hip, press the knee right above the knee where that vastus medius is. Then in the mid adductors, and then those muscles closest to the hips. Okay, and then you can also turn and get the front of that quad, but we're getting the quad next. So the next one would be the quad, going one end of the roller. So you can put one thigh on the ground, point that back toe down, abduct that opposite hip, and flex that hip as far as possible up, and then roll up and down on that quad. Okay, find an area of tightness, hold here, try to breathe into that. There's going to be lots of areas in each section of the body, so don't try to concentrate on one. Just try to concentrate on the ones that feel like they're the most sensitive or the tightest or the most dense, okay? And then just kind of breathing in those areas, moving to a new area, getting a different angle, okay? Hundreds of different angles for each body part. So never think there's just one spot on each body part. That would be the quads, okay? So that was the quads, the adductors. We showed you the hip rotators. Now we're going to move into the tensor fasciae lata, or the muscles located right in front of your ASIS, right below your ASIS, and immediately from the outside of your hip, right here where my hands are, where your pockets are in your shorts. So what we do is we lay perpendicular to the roller, or cross it. We go on one thigh, and we go right below that hip bone, and then we rotate, go up and down, try to find a tiny little muscle. Once we rotate it enough, you'll feel it. And then again, this is a small muscle, so you don't need to move that much. And then try to relax that back leg. Breathe into that. That's your TFL. Okay, you can roll maybe up or down on that muscle. And you can really feel that if you're in the right spot. I'll show you my right side and a different angle. Okay, and I found it right there. Okay, might take a while to find this muscle. You may have to look it up, TFL, or tensor fasciae lata, TENSOR, fascia, FASCIA, and then LATAE. All right, so that's your TFL, or that pocket muscle. Man, I believe that is an internal rotator of the hip. Abductor, I think it has a lot of different movements it can do, just like the hip flexors. Now we're going to get the glute medius. So the glute medius, you go sideline, across, perpendicular, foam roller, and this is on the outside of the hip instead of the front of the hip. We were just on the front medial side. Now we're on the outside of the upper hip, locating the glute medius. And then once we find them, may just involve the slight turn or rotation back, and then you'll find it, and then we'll just hold that area This one you can move up and down and across. So you'll feel a muscle up there, high, real high, right next to that hip bone, located on the hip bone, and off of it, that side glute there, or your glute med. Again, just kind of pushing in that area and switching side. Okay. So that's our glute med. Gone over glute med, TFL. And now I guess the last one I'll go over is the lats and the serratus anterior and the pecs. So let me get that side glute on this side. I was actually going to the TFL, got sidetracked. I can get a little higher on this, get in between the glute med and the glute max. Okay. Now for the lats, pecs, going across it, draping your arm, hand over hand, and then we're just laterally flexing the spine on that area. Again, here we can externally and internally rotate the shoulder while we're here. We can go up and down, arms over the head here. Arms can be like this, whatever works best for you. Back of the hand on the ground to get more of the posterior shoulder. Elbow bent to get more of that posterior shoulder. And then arms across and all the way draped over. Again, it's going to get posterior. And we're going to also work into the lats, which if we go a little bit lower, we can press into the chest, rotate, and then rotate back, rotate forward. Or we can just try to locate some spots, whether it's high here, middle, or low. Okay. Show me the other side. Stacking those knees together to start, feet together in that fetal position. Drape the arm, bend the elbow, back of the hand on the ground if possible. If not, like mine, that's fine. Once you externally rotate, you'll be contracting those posterior muscles. So when that happens, they'll pop out and you'll be able to locate them a little bit better. So when we internally rotate, we're using that chest. We're using our bicep, chest. Okay. We'll go like this. Externally rotate, we're using those rotator cuff muscles. They also do help with internal rotation, so you'll feel them doing this as well. Okay, more lats, pec and chest. Also, the serratus anterior and the ribs, intercostal muscles. Okay, so that would be a good full foam rolling session that you could perform on your own. Let me know if you have any questions.